Hello my dear students of class 10. Today we will going to learn the chapter 20, that is mineral based industries. So in this industries we are going to discuss about various manufacturing industries that are based on minerals. So the industries are iron and steel industry, petrochemical industry and electronic industry. And we are going to describe the iron and steel industry are Tisco, Vilai, Rourkela and Visakhapatnam. So now students, let's begin. So here first we have to know what do you mean by mineral based industries. So the industries that receive their raw material from the mineral are called mineral based industries. So in this chapter we will going to study the iron and steel, petrochemical and electronic good industries. So first one we are going to discuss here, that is the iron and steel industry. Iron is the most important and widely used metal in the world. So, as we know from the early ages, iron is used in our daily life. So, and due to its hardness, strength, and durability. The iron and the steel industry is the basic or the key industry, as well other industries depend on it. So we know that various type of industries that are like automobile are mainly based on iron and steel industry, and also the railways and the bridge making industries all are dependent on the iron and steel industry. So these are some examples. Now we are going to know how this growth and development of this industry takes place. So here we see the science of art of making steel is very old in India, and this is evident from the famous iron pillar of Delhi dating back to AD 350. The first attempt to produce iron and steel on the modern line was made on 1830 at Porto Nova in Tamil Nadu. However, it could not succeed and the mill was closed down in 1866. Now, the first successful modern iron and steel industry actually had the beginning in 1870 when the Bengal Iron Works Company was established at Kulti in West Bengal. So, we have to remember that the modern and successful iron and steel industry is first developed in Kulti in West Bengal, that is the Bengal Iron Work Company in 1870. Now, a turning point in the history of the iron and steel industry in India came in 1907 when the Iron and Steel Company was set up at Sakchi, now Jamshedpur, by Sri J.N. Tata. So, we know that Tata Iron and Steel Industry is very famous, and later on India Iron and Steel Company was set up at Banpur in 1919, followed by Mysore Steel Works at Vadravati in 1923. So here we see the growth and development, that is the history of iron and steel industry. So firstly here we see that iron pillar at Delhi is an evidence of using steel, iron and steel from the early period. Now the first attempt is done in Tamil Nadu, that is Porto Nova, but it is unsuccessful. And the successful iron and steel industry, that is modern iron and steel industry, is established in Kulti in West Bengal. And the turning point takes place when the Tata Iron and Steel Company was set up in Sakchi, and later on the Iron and Steel Company was set up in Banpur in 1919, followed by Mysuru Steel Work at Bhadravati in 1923. During the first two 5-year plans, that is 1951 to 1961, three integrated steel plants were started at Vilai, Rourkela and Durgapur. The Bokaro Steel Plant started its production in 1972. So, when the Bokaro Steel Plant is started production is in 1972, and the three integrated steel plants are Vilai, Rourkela and Durgapur. The Steel Authority of India, that we all know is called as SAIL, was set up in 1973. So, what was its function? which is responsible for the management of the steel plant at Vilai, Rourkela, Durgapur, Bokaro, and Banpur. So we know these all are the integrated steel plant and it is managed by the Steel Authority of India that called as SAIL. The 4 new steel plant was set up after the 5th plan. These are at Salem in Tamil Nadu, Vijayanagar in Karnataka, Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, and Paradweep in Odisha. So we have to remember these names that are very important, that is Vilai, Rourkela, Durgapur, Bokaro, Banpur, Salem, Vijayanagar, Visakhapatnam, and Paradweep. Now we have to know about the location factor of the iron and steel industry. What is the location which is preferable for the iron and steel industry? So let's have a look. The iron and steel industry uses large quantity of heavy and weight losing raw materials such as iron ore, coking coal, limestone. On the basis of the minimum cost of transportation, the steel plant can be located at 3 possible places that are near the coal field, near the iron ore mining center, and at the place between the coal and the iron ore producing areas. So here we see that there is mainly 3 zones where the iron and steel plant is mainly located. So as we see here that iron and steel industry uses a very weight losing raw materials that can increase the cost of production. So that's why it is mainly located in the 3 areas, that is near the coal field, near the iron ore mining center, and at the place between coal and iron ore producing areas. So now we see that most of the steel plant in India are located in Jharkhand, West Bengal, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh. All these states are rich in coal and iron ore reserve. So that's why most of the iron and steel industries are located in these areas or zones. Now, the other raw materials needed for making iron and steel are manganese, limestone, dolomite, chromite, silica, scrap iron, etc. These are needed in the small quantity and can be transported easily from other places. And the other one is the high grade hematite and magnetite. So here we see that hematite and magnetite are the iron ores that are available from the mines in Jharkhand, Bihar, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Karnataka. So especially these type of iron ore are get from these type of zones or areas. Now the coking coal or the fuel is supplied by the mine in Jharia, Raniganj, Bokaro, Giridih, and Korba. The flux grade limestone can be had from the Sundargarh, that is Odisha, Ranchi, that is in Jharkhand, Durg in Chhattisgarh, Satna in Madhya Pradesh, and Shivamoga in Karnataka. Since the raw material used in these industries are heavy, steel plants are located in their proximity. That proximity means in the nearing areas. Now we are going to know about the distribution of the iron and steel industry. Where these iron and steel industries are located in the different areas. So, as we know previously that we are going to describe the iron and steel industries that are Tisco, Vilai, Rourkela, and Visakhapatnam. Now we are going to describe it one by one. So here we see that India has 12 integrated steel plants and about 150 mini steel plant. Except Tisco, now called as Tata Steel Limited, it is all integrated steel plant are managed by SAILs. So first one we are going to describe here, that is the Tata Steel Industry, previously known as Tisco. Tisco is the oldest and the largest iron and steel plant in India, located in Jamshedpur. That is, old name is Sakchi, in Jharkhand, and Jamshedpur is located at the confluence of Subarnarekha and Kharkai river. Jamshedpur, it is at the distance of about 240 kilometer from Kolkata. So we know that what is the distance between Kolkata and the Jamshedpur, that is 240 kilometers. TISCO is most ideally located in the respect to iron ore, coking coal, flax, that is dolomite and limestone supplies. It started producing pig iron in 1911 and steel in 1912. The initial capacity of the plant has increased many times. The present capacity is as follows. So, pig iron is 4 million tons, ingot steel, that is 2 million tons, and sellable steel, that is 3 million tons. So, this is the capacity of the present condition. Now, the TISCO plant at Jamshedpur has the following geographical advantage. So we are going to know what are the advantages that are given to the TISCO due to its geographical location. Now first here we see high grade of iron ore, that is so much important, is brought from Noamundi mines in Singhbhum in Jharkhand and Guru Mahisani mines of Mayurbhanj in Odisha. These iron ore mines are at a distance of about only 75 to 100 km from Jamshedpur. The coking coal is supplied from Jharia, Bokaro and Raniganj coalfield, which are about 150 to 200 km away from Jamshedpur. Now, the next one is manganese. The manganese is supplied from the Joda mines of Kendujhar district in Odisha. Dolomite, limestone, fire clay that are used as flux material are available from Sundargarh in Odisha. Kolkata, at a distance of about 240 km, provide port facility and potential market for the product. Water needed for cooling is available from the Subarnarekha and Kharkai river. Jamshedpur is connected with Kolkata, Mumbai and Chennai, which provide the networks of roads and railways. Cheap labor is available from the dense populated state of Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal and Odisha. Now we are going to describe all the things in shortly. Okay. So first one is high grade coal is getted from the Noamundi mines of Singhbhum in Jharkhand and Guru Mahisani mines of Mayurbhanj in Odisha. Next one, the coking coal. Coking coal is supplied from Jharia, Bokaro and Raniganj. Manganese is supplied from Joda mines of Kendujhar district in Odisha. Dolomite, limestone, fire clay is available from Sundargarh in Odisha. Kolkata is providing the port facility and the water needed for cooling is available from the river of Subarnarekha, Kharkai river. And the Jamshedpur is connected by the roadway and railway with Kolkata, Mumbai and Chennai, and cheap labor is available from Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal and Odisha. So these are the geographical advantages that the TISCO is getting. Now in the last 50 years, a number of factories have been established in Jamshedpur to produce automobile machine, tools, locomotive, parts, agricultural machineries, etc. TISCO is the 10th largest producer of the iron and steel industry in the world. The sort of the space in Jamshedpur has forced TISCO to look for another site for a new steel plant and the allied industries. The new site is at Gopalpur in Odisha, about 170 km southeast of Bhubaneswar. This project was shelved due to the resistance from the local people. Now TISCO is developing a 6 million tons plant at Dubari. So as we are known to Tata Steel Limited, now we are going to know about the other iron and steel plant, that is Vilai. So here we are going to describe the Vilai iron and steel plant. The Vilai iron and steel plant was set up in Durg district of Chhattisgarh in 1957 with the technical and financial support of the then Soviet Union. The installed capacity was fixed at 10 lakh tons, which has now been raised to 50 lakh tons. The villa is located on the Kolkata Mumbai main railway line. It is 720 km west of Kolkata and 260 km east of Nagpur. The production started in 1959, and Durg is a backward area, and the aim of this plant was to bring prosperity and employment for the people in this region. So here we see there is another aim of this production or this establishment of the iron and steel plant, that as Durg is a backward area and it is aimed to bring their prosperity employment of the people. Now here we are going to see what are the geographical advantages of the Vilai iron and steel plant. It receives iron ore from Dali Rajhara range, which is about 90 km south of Vilai. Coal is obtained from Korba in Chhattisgarh, Bokaro, Kargali, Jharia in Jharkhand coalfield. Limestone comes from the Nandini mines, that is about 25 km away. Manganese is obtained from Bhandara in Maharashtra and Balaghat in Madhya Pradesh. Dolomite comes from Bilaspur in Chhattisgarh and it gets electricity from Korba thermal power station. Water is supplied from the Tandula canal and reservoir, and the port facilities are offered by the Visakhapatnam seaport, and the cheap labor is available from the nearby areas. So here we are going to see it that the iron is coming from Dhali Rajhara range, coal is obtained from Korba Chhattisgarh, Bokaro, Kargali, Jharia Jharkhand, and the limestone is coming from Nandini mines. Manganese is coming from Bhandara in Maharashtra, Balaghat in Madhya Pradesh. Dolomite is coming from Bilaspur in Chhattisgarh, and the electricity is getting from the Korba thermal plant, and the water is supplied from Tandula canal, and also the port facilities is offered by Visakhapatnam seaport, and the cheap labor is available from the nearby area. So here we see that mainly all the things that are gated to the village iron and steel plant are in the nearby areas. Now here we see that the main products of the Vilai iron and steel plant are heavy rail, medium and light beam and structurals, billets and the rolled wires. The rail and the structural mills is one of the most modern and the largest in the world. Now it has also started making plates for the shipbuilding industries. The main byproduct are the benzol, coal tar, ammonium sulfate and sulfuric acid. So here we see that these are the main products that are produced in the Vilai steel plant, and the byproducts are the benzol, coal tar, ammonium sulfate and sulfuric acid. In 2013 to 14, Vilai iron and steel plant produced more than 50 lakh tons of crude steel. So here we completed the Vilai steel plant. After this we are going to know about the another steel plant, that is the Rourkela iron and steel plant. Rourkela. Okay. Now let's start that. Here we see that the Rourkela iron and steel plant is located in Sundargarh district of Orissa along the Kolkata Nagpur main railway line. It was built with the technical and the financial cooperation of the then West Germany. So here we see that the Rourkela location is Sundargarh district of Orissa along the Kolkata Nagpur main railway line, and it is held by the Western Germany Corporation. Now we see here the plant is about 400 km west of Kolkata on the confluence of Sankh and Koel river. The capacity of the iron and steel plant has been increased from 10 lakh tons to more than 40 lakh tons. So here we see that the Vilai steel plant is also the capacity is also increased, that is from 10 lakh to 50 lakh, but here it is only 40 lakh tons. So now we are going to know about the geographical advantage that the Rourkela and iron steel plant are getting. So firstly, here we see that it received the iron ore, that is the most important thing, from Sundargarh, Kendujagad district of Odisha, which are about 75 km away from the site. The coal is obtained from Jharia, Bokaro, Kargali, Talcher and Korba coal mine. The next one, that is the plant received manganese from the Barajamda and the dolomite from Baradwar mine, which is about 25 km away. Limestone is supplied from Hatibari, Purnapani mines in Odisha. The electricity is supplied from the new plant nearby and Hirakud hydroelectricity project. The water is supplied from Mandira Dam across Sunk River, about 26 km away. So here we see that the iron ore, coal, manganese, dolomite, limestone are supplied from the nearby areas within 100 kilometers. Now, the main products that are produced in the Rourkela iron and steel industry. So, in 2013 to 14, the Rourkela iron and steel plant produced about 23 lakh tons of crude steel. The main products are hot and cold rolled sheet, galvanized sheet, electrical steel plate and flat products. The main byproduct that are getting from the Rourkela iron and steel plant are nitrogen, which is used in the manufacture of fertilizer and other chemicals. Now we are going to discuss the another steel plant, and this is the last one, that is the Visakhapatnam steel plant. This steel plant has a unique location on the sea coast in Andhra Pradesh. It is the first coast-based steel plant in India. So, if we see that in all over India, the Visakhapatnam steel plant is the first coast-based steel plant. This steel plant was built by the Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited and was dedicated to the nation in 1992. The Visakhapatnam steel plant is most sophisticated modern integrated steel plant in the country. It is a major export oriented steel plant and its blast furnaces are biggest in the country. Its installed capacity is about 10 million ton of hot metal, liquid steel and saleable steel per year. Now we are going to discuss about the advantage of the geographical location. So here we see that the high quality of the iron ore is supplied from the Bailadila mines in Bastar district of Chhattisgarh. The other advantages are the main supply of coal are imported from Australia and 1/4 need are made by Damodar Valley coalfield. The next one is the steel plant get limestone, dolomite and manganese from the mines of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Odisha. And these are the plan to replace imported coal with the natural gas from the Krishna Godavari basin. So we see here that coals are mainly imported in this steel plant, and here it is planning that these imported coal are replaced with the natural gas that are getting from the Krishna Godavari basin. Presently, the Visakhapatnam steel plant is the second largest producer of iron and steel in India, and in 2011 to 12, the plant produced about 3.5 million tons of crude steel. So here it is given that mini steel plant. So we have to know about what is mini steel plant. The mini steel plant with the capacity ranging from 10,000 tons to 5 lakh tons per year operate through the electric furnace and generally used ferro scrap, pig iron or sponge iron we called as raw material. So here we see that it is mainly generated through the electrical furnace. So that's why it produces less pollution in the environment. While the integrated steel plant mainly produce the mild steel in bulk, the mini steel plant produce the mild steel as well as the alloy steel. including the stainless steel. So here we see that in the mini steel plant, the mild steel is produced, alloy steel is produced, and the stainless steel is produced. Now, there are more than 150 mini steel plant with an installed capacity of about 120 lakh tons of crude steel per annum, that is per year. Most of the mini steel plants are located far away from the major steel plants so that they can meet the local demand. So why, if we say why the mini steel plant are located far away from the major steel plants? Because they have to meet their local demands. Now we are going to know about the production of the iron and steel in India. So, there has been a rapid increase in the total production of the pig iron and the steel in our country during the last 50 years, and there has been an increase in more than 10 times in the output of the pig iron and more than 15 times in the steel ingots. And 22 times in the finished steel during the last 50 years. India produced about 44 million tons of pig iron, 74 million tons of crude steel, and 75 million tons of finished steel in 2013 to 14. So, here we see that mainly, so in the last 50 years, this increase in production takes place, and in 2013 to 14 there is a vast increase, that is 44 million ton of pig iron, 74 million ton of crude steel, and 75 million ton of finished steel. Now here we are going to describe the problems that are generating in the iron and steel industry in India. So firstly, here we see that iron and steel industry requires a huge capital investment which a developing country like India cannot afford. So we know that that India is a developing country. That means that the capital is not much available or it is not developed as the other countries. So for that reason, the huge capital was not invested in the iron and steel industries. That's why it became a backwardness to the iron and steel industry. So here we see mostly all the iron and steel industry are public sector and are functioning inefficiently. For that reason, they are incurring a heavy loss to the industries. The per capita labor productivity in India is one of the lowest in the world. So which means per labor has the lowest productivity in India in comparing to the whole world. The underutilization of the capacity led to the highest cost of production. This is mainly due to the strikes and lockouts. So we know that utilization is under the capacity, which means we have to produce over capacity to get the profit. But here we see that it is underutilization. That means it incurring a loss, and this is mainly due to the strikes and the lockouts that is happening in these industries. The old technology need to be updated, and this need very heavy investment. So we previously know that the huge capital that is required, it is not invested in the developing country like India. So here we see there is another problem is developing here for the capital investment, that is the old technology is not replaced by the modern technologies for the heavy investment. Now the control of the price by the government leaves very limited profit for the future upgradation. The high grade coking coal reserves are limited, and India has to import coking coal at the market rate. Our old technology of smelting and steel making is expensive and yield inferior quality of the product. So here we see, as our technology is old, the smelting process and the steel making is became expensive, and that's why it produced the inferior quality, that is it is not superior quality product is produced in our industries. There is a limited demand of our product in the world market. That means export is not happening in from the in iron and steel plants. So here we completed the iron and steel industry. Now we are going to the other industry, that is petrochemical. So firstly we have to know what do you mean by petrochemical. The petrochemical are those compound and chemicals which are derived from the petroleum. The main raw material from the petrochemical are naphtha and the natural gas. They are used in manufacturing of the synthetic fiber, plastic, synthetic rubber, dye stuff, insecticide, paraceutical, etc. The petrochemical industries is often recent origin and at present is one of the fastest growing industries in India. The first petrochemical plant was set up in the Union Carbide India Limited at the Tromboi. So we previously know that Tromboi is in Maharashtra, and in 1966, so when the first petrochemical plant is set up in India, it is first set up in India at 1966 in Tromboi, that is in Maharashtra. The first public sector plant, India Petrochemical Corporation Limited, that is we shortly called as IPCL, was set up in Gujarat and which was started production in 1973. The petrochemical group of industries are divided into 4 subdivisions. So, such as synthetic fiber, polymer, elastomer and surfactant intermediate. The main center of the productions are Mumbai, Aurai, Auraiya, Jamnagar, Hazira, Gandhar, Haldia, Visakhapatnam and Vadodara, etc. The synthetic fiber are used for making the large variety of cloths and they are popular due to the strength, durability, dyeability, workability, washability and resistance to wrinkle and shrinkage. Now we are going to know about each of the subgroups that are firstly one is the synthetic fiber. The synthetic fiber are used for making a large variety of cloths. These cloths are popular due to its following features. So they are the strength, durability, dyeability, workability, washability, resistance to wrinkle and shrinkage. Now the next subdivision is the polymer. The polymer is obtained from the process of refining crude oil in the refineries. Polymer provided the basic raw materials from the plastic industry. In India, there are more than 25,000 units which are manufacturing various plastic goods. Most of the units are in small scale sector. Now, the next one is surfactant, are the most usually making detergent. So, here we know that surfactant are mainly used for making detergent and elastomer are used in manufacturing the synthetic rubber. There has been a steady increase in the production and the consumption of the major petrochemical product in India. Recently, the petrochemical industry has been delicensed, which encourages the further growth, and the petrochemical industry has a bright future in our country. It may also be mentioned that India is almost self-sufficient in some essential petrochemical products. India has already started exporting some of the major petrochemical products, and the government for the progress of the industry has already approved the implemented the national policy on the petrochemical to make India a hub of this industry. So next we are going to know about another industry, that is the electronic industry. So we know that a very wide range of products are included in the electronic industry, such as radio, television, telephone exchange, cellular mobile phone, computer and equipment for the railways, defense and communication. Now we see here that in the various sector the electronic industries are providing, But the electronic industry has developed mainly after the independence, that is after 1947. This industry has revolutionized the lifestyle of the people throughout the world. So we know that electronic industry has a major impact in our lifestyle. So from here it is seen that the setting up of Indian telephone industry is firstly developed in 1950 at the Bangalore, gave a boost to the electronic industry, and this is mainly due of the communication sector. Now it now meets the entire requirement of the post, telegraph, defense, railway, electricity board, etc. It has 7 manufacturing units. After this, the Bharat Electronic Limited was also set up at Bangalore in 1956, and it fulfilled the need of the Armed Force, All India Radio and Meteorological Department, etc. And it has 9 manufacturing units in different part of the India. After this, then comes the Bangalore. Bangalore now became the largest center of the electronic good production, and it is rightly called as the electronic capital of India. So here we see that Bangalore is called as the electronic capital of India. Why? Because it becomes a largest center of the electronic good production. Now, the information technology, that is IT sector, which include the computer and electronic mass media, is now a part of electronic industry. The main component of the information technology are software and hardware. So we know that the software has now become a major industry in the field of electronics. In India, the computer industry made a modest beginning in the mid 1970s, and it has now achieved a major breakthrough, which is due to rapid growth of technological commitment of the manpower. So here we see that in the electronic industries, the software industry became a major industry, and it is started from the beginning of the 1970s, and it has a rapid growth with its technical component of manpower. Now, one of the major achievement has been developed on the supercomputer, that is known as Param, which can make almost 10,000 crore calculation per second. This has made our country a software superpower. The annual growth has been more than 50% between 1991 to 1999. So here we see in this decade there are 50% of annual growth. Now, the government help in setting up the electronic park in the different part of the India. So now we are going to know the centers. So thus India software industry expand almost twice as fast of the world, leading US software industry. The centers in India are Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Srinagar, Mohali, that is near Chandigarh, Noida, that is near Delhi, Hyderabad, Jaipur, Gandhinagar, Kolkata, Chennai, Mysuru, Coimbatore and Thiruvananthapuram. Now, here we see that the software park now provides single window service and high data communication facilities to the software experts. So we here know that the single window service means it is providing to a one person with a high data communication facilities. And as present there are more than 100 units in the private sector producing electronic and telecommunication equipment. Most of the units that are present in India are Delhi, Kanpur, Lucknow, Jaipur, Pune, Mumbai, Bangalore, Coimbatore, Hyderabad and Kolkata. So here we see that the electronic industry have a cost effective, great quality, high reliability, speedy deliveries, above all the art, technology in software and hardware industries. Today, despite of many changes, India dominates the world in the computer and electronic industry. The hardware section of the IT industries is one of the fastest growing sector in the production of the international trade, and its main feature is innovation. So innovation is the main factor. So, innovation is the main factor of the hardware section of the IT industries in India. The software and hardware industry offer employment to the 10 million person, and the personal computer, that is PC, is the key information appliances of the 21st century. India has already captured the software market of the some of the advanced countries of the world such as USA, UK, Japan and many European countries. The Indian electronic industry is also helping the growth and the development of the space technology space program in India. India produces electronic goods worth more than 1 lakh crore in 2010, in 2011 to 2012. So here we see that the Indian software market also, so here we see all Indian electronic industry is also going to help. So here we see that Indian electronic industry is also taking part in the development of space technology and space program, and it has produced the electronic goods worth more than lakh crores in 2011 to 2012. So here we have completed our this chapter, and that is the mineral based industries, that is chapter 20. So that's all for today, and thank you.